afternoon and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Crafts. We're live in the Carnation Crafts studio. It's the last one for this launch. Miss Taz, it makes me sad.
We've got Friday.
We have got Friday, that is true. Going wild on Friday, which is really exciting. But this is the last look live at Chasing the Sun. And really time, if you haven't got the pop-up planters, there's very few left now, just to let you all know. Hey Karen Vincent, how you doing? Lovely. Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to say thank you, Carla, for the previous show. It was very informative. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Michelle Hill. Oh, I love your top. It's actually a dress, and it looks like Mary Poppins carpet bag, and it makes me happy. Good afternoon to you all. Hello, Linda Poland. Hey, Terry. Hey, Sue Dalrymple. So in light of the fact that this is going to be the final show, and what we did in the previous show was we kind of did a joint composition, you guys and me, and we're going to kind of do the same thing again. So I will make the first demo, and then the last demo that we do will be very much, if that's okay with you guys, a joint performance between all of us, and we're going to look at how composition starts to, for want of a better way, how composition starts to breed. We're going to look at that and how Carnation's vignettes and the die cuts take us on that journey. So I'm hoping we can get a lot out of that, just as far as comp and design and creativity is concerned. But Chasing the Sun, it's just a lovely collection, but there's not much of it left, and it's sort of the final call, really. 230801 is your unit number on the Carnation Craft website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. It's Janine Dawson. Hello, you lovely, lovely human. I love Janine. She makes me happy. Have you not met Janine?
I've spoken to her briefly on the phone.
She's like the best human in the world. Right, sorry, waylaid. It's got a show price of $89.99. However, using your code today of CCCS10, that's going to give you 10% off. So actually, this whole collection is only £80.99, which is very, very reasonable. Linda's has just arrived. It's so exciting when you all get it the day after. I love that. It just is, it's such a powerful message, isn't it? It's really, really good. The planter, the pop-up planters, just to let you all know, there's not many left now, and they're not going to last forever. 230807 39.99. If you get that independently on its own, there is a £2.95 UK P&P on it because it's under the £50 threshold. My advice is pop your perfect papers in there at the same time, get your free postage, or if you're looking for pro print, anything like that, you may as well. If you're buying that anyway, you may as well get the free postage. So it's a good time to get your blush papers, your pro print, that sort of thing. Hey Suzanne Page, how you doing? Got back from a busy weekend away doing craft shows. We like that. Sandra, how's it going? Lovely, from Florida. Love, love, love Carnation. I think we all collectively love, love, love Carnation. Feels like we're like we know a secret, doesn't it? Like we know how good it is, and it's nice to be in that club. Right, let's have a look at the card show. We're having a look through the boards. It's the last time we'll see the boards. Remember, the show's on YouTube. Stay on YouTube. I'm gonna try and avoid the glue above it. Sorry, Taz. Warn me if I'm going near. All the shows stay on YouTube. You can watch them back at any point. So we've got the card shape here. We looked at this before. We will hopefully look at it again. But you've got your beautiful doily shape here. You've got your box line. You've got your score lines here. These fold in, as you've seen on demo, and they allow us to stick the archway on the front with dimension. So you've got a box to start with. You've already got your sort of perspective lines going through. We've got your hanging basket, your twine, the beautiful, I love that so much, the gorgeous, gorgeous vase. Hello and love, beautiful sentiments, each with their own mat as well, so we can raise up. Again, always thinking about how we're going to, you know, make those transitions happen within the card. Then you've got your beautiful, beautiful, stunning pivot head florals. Nick is a genius. Build your own. You don't have to be led. You can build your own. All your little pivot points that you can put your florals on. We've seen these shape out, how beautiful they are when they're shaped out. Your decoupage elements for all of them. Your beautiful iris and how we build that floral. It's really clever. All the different types of foliage we can have for the different types of florals that we've got, because we've got really big florals and we've got tiny little dinks. You play, you control it. It's just such a lovely, lovely thing to have in our crafting arsenal. The labels. And I think they're lovely for sentiments. I really obviously love them for sentiments, but I love these for gifts. I just think they're really pretty to stick on a present. If you've got a ribbon, I tell you where these would look amazing. Miss Tiz Taz, was it gifted Christmas or was it ready for Christmas with the big red bow? Gifted.
Gifted.
See if you made a card and you used just a plain card and you used your red bow, and where the bow lines are, because we can manipulate those bow lines because they're freedom pieces, as in we choose how to build them. If you separate those out slightly and put that sentiment on top here, so pretty. These are so pretty. Just gorgeous. And just to let you know very, very briefly, because my brain will forget the information, for all of you who've been waiting, and I know loads of you have been waiting for Ready for Christmas to come back onto Carnation Crafts website, it's there. Just to let you all know, because I'll forget the information. Been looking at the DT samples, Linda. I know, they're so pretty. We'll have a look at a couple when I've done the boards. So moving on from your labels, we've got your beautiful spray bottle, you've got your twine, you've got your gorgeous seed packets here, you've got your snips. So we're building, aren't we? We're building. This goes in with all the other gardening selections that we may have had from previous collections as well, because we just build. We build so we've got all of the elements that we need. This, I think, would look amazing on the Crafty Little Things desk, where you've got the overhead lamp and you've got the little plants and all of those things. This, same again, Crafty Little Things. It will all come in. There's loads of different ways of using these. These could be little sweet packets. They can be whatever you want them to be. Nice elements. The gorgeous little mice. Just beautiful. Their little faces, the whimsy of these mice is so gorgeous. And it's got that really cute carnation stamp about it. That's what their artwork is, isn't it? Just gorgeous. The little mud that we can fling, it's just cute. That's the Chasing the Sun collection. But as you know, we've got the pop-up planters as well, which is separate, not part of the main bundle. It is a separate item. It's nearly gone anyway. It's nearly sold out. Unsurprisingly, look, it's a little bit perfection. Look at that. And actually, I'm going to just say, just pause and look at that board. Because, sorry, Miss Taz, because this is the final time you'll see this board on Carnation's channel for now. And that, just to take a minute and go, breathe, you know, look at where Carnation are. That board's so impressive. Not just the picture of it, the dimension of it, the depth of it, the fact that this is in your hands and you get to play. You own this. And it's so impressive for card making. And we forget with Carnation sometimes. I do. I am really guilty of just taking for granted that the next collection is going to be stunning. I just take it for granted because I'm like, well, of course it is. It's Carnation. And you forget the work that goes into that. You forget the minds that go into that because you're just like, well, of course it's going to be nice. Carnation. They work hard for it. And so massive appreciation. Right. We're going to do one demo that is a normal demo after I've shown you some finished samples. And then the second demo that we do, and I'm hoping you will all join in. You're going to lead me on composition. I've got the demos made. This is not me being lazy. It's about education. You lead me. Let's do composition together, okay? I've got all my bits and bats sitting next to me here. I've got a demo made up already for it, but let's do a collective because I think it's really good for just to stretch our creativity. Ali's got hers. Jan's got hers. Kate says, I think you need to lock Nick in a cupboard for a month to allow the bank to recover. I've tried locking him up before. He's not keen on it. He runs very fast. Oh, I just ordered the vases and the 3D boxes, Amanda. Forgot to add it to my Chasing the Sun order yesterday. Um, they'll probably be with you tomorrow anyway, which is good, isn't it?
She got in
In
enough
time, I know, because they're about to go. There's not many of them left. Linda Poland, I'm always amazed at how quickly they do come. It's a real point of pride with them. And Belkis is saying, love Carnation. We do love Carnation. And we're lucky, I think, to have them. Right. Stop me waffling. Right, let's have a look at some finished samples. Miss Taz, can I ask you a massive favour? Because I'm going to fall off my chair. I'm on a very high chair. The floor is a long way away. Can you pass me some of these? Because I've shown the other ones. So could you pass me some fresh ones? You see Miss Taz's arm. That's all you can have of her.
What a lovely arm it is.
Can you pass me the big green one down there as well?
Anything else, dear? Anything from the trolley?
Thank you.
You got it?
Yeah. She does look after me, does Miss Taz.
Oh, you got it.
Thank you, Gil. So this one, because today is going to be predominantly about composition, I want you to look at some of these cards from a composition view, just because when we're looking at these cards where they fold out, this part of the card has to look right. We can't just take it as a full picture. I'm just going to give a massive shout out to Sue, who made this. Now, when Sue is doing the composition for this, she's got the L. You can see Sue's L. We work with lines. We work with V's. We work with diagonals. We work with L's. Sue's L is here, right? It's structured. That already looks like a full card. If we never opened it up, it already looks like a full card because of where Sue's placed everything. We've got the happy birthday sitting here. It makes sense. So if it never opened up to anything else, it's still a perfect card. However, then Sue has very cleverly with the composition allowed everything else to sit forward. I've got that trapped, I think, there, just there. Okay, so then we get this long line where we've got the layers coming through. I think that's just caught in some acetate. But just to show you that box shape coming through and the layers sitting in, because Nick's given us those extra pieces on this planter set so that we can add layers into our boxes. So it becomes this stunning visual with this hidden beauty. Why is it important? It's important because it shows us extra playways, doesn't it? It allows us to build the scene. It allows us to build the picture. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because we get to build our florals. We get to put everything where we want them to be. We've got the lovely mice in the plant pots. It works, and that's why it's important. Strip it back. What are we working with composition-wise? We're working with the diagonal. So just keep your points of focus. Sometimes it's about geometry, really. Sometimes it's about keeping lines, L's, diagonals, midlines, high lines, and dragging things on a border. Those things will automatically give you something to start with. And this is your how stunning is that? And that's your diagonal line. We follow composition rules. This one of my favorites here. That was a Janine. And then we've got Vera's. Look at this. So we build on height. And what have we got? We've got your mid-central focus, and then we've got your V line. Okay? Composition rules. Composition's not hard. It's just, everything has a foundation in certain rules. And composition's the same. They're not difficult rules. It's just going, oh, right, okay, if I've got an L, I've got a visual. If I've got a V, I've got a visual point. If I've got a diagonal, we're drawing the line. So it's really easy once you get the knack of it. And it's almost habitual. And that's a really lovely thing. Things like this. This is a really important composition card as well. And it's about how we see it. And the reason it's important on a composition level is because of the trifold at the back, working in thirds. And what we've done here is allowed the central focus to be the box in the middle. That's our point of focus. What this does, because it's got the two pieces at the side, that gives us visual relief. Basic, easy rules. Because we've got white space sitting. And so that allows the eye to breathe, so we take this in. Easy rules. This, look at that. Follow your lines round. So easy, so beautiful. And it's just a little bit of structure. Using these in clever ways, using your blush papers instead of just raw white. Blush papers are so important in composition because when we're using a blush paper, we are literally exploding the colours behind. It's not just there as a gimmick, it's there as a tool to help us exploit what's behind. And that's why it works so well. So the blush papers that are used here that are mixing in then with the perfect papers, stunning. Really stunning. That gorgeous cream tone that comes through, and the way we warm the green up. The green is a cool colour, but we warm it with blush papers and that allows the flowers to really shine. That's the way it works. And this one, which I'm going to absolutely say, and it is Vera's, this is my favourite out of all of the DT cards. The minute I saw it, because composition, this has to be a piece of composition mastery, literally. Because white space, white space, white space, visual focus, depth, apertures, and that beautiful, beautiful protrusion of the box at the bottom. That's got to be one of the most perfect composition pieces. It just works. Everything about it works. The cooler tones, cool in the pinks, which allows everything to glow, because we've still got the pink, so everything glows pink. It's literally, take a snapshot of that as a piece of perfect card composition. It's so pretty. I'm just bowled over by the DT team every single time we play. So this, as you've probably guessed, today's, because it's the final day of Chasing the Sun, today's tutorials, not tutorials, demos are more kind of composition aligned, because obviously Mr. Davy B went home yesterday. It's about growing, isn't it? I'm growing, I'm learning, I learn composition rules constantly, and I learn what doesn't work. More importantly, for every demo that I bring to you, there'll be 10 that were binned because they weren't what I wanted them to be. And then we also have the structure as demonstrators that I might have made my demos 2 weeks ago. So when I come onto air with a plastic bag with some bits in it, I'm like, where was I going with this? Of course that happens. But if we follow simple rules, we can still bring it back together again. So I can go, I need a line. Somewhere I need a line, whether that's an L, a V, or a diagonal. If I can bring that in, I can get the composition. So that helps, you know, these are things that I can use for my protection as such when I am live on television, usually making a fool of myself in a different way anyway. So it just goes that way. So this one I'm just going to make, we're just going to do a demo with it. So you've got a full demo, and the next one we're going to do is a collective. So get your typing fingers out and you can rule me. So long line, we're doing a DL shape. Do you think I can ever come to air with a card base that doesn't have a little bit of my cat on it? No. No. Sorry. Miss Phyllis is a menace. Right. 1/2 inch, red line of tape at the top, push down toward the body. It's like being in the army, Miss Taz. Being in the army. And then just go in. Okay, really, really sweet. Ew. I love that tone. That's such a pretty colour, really pretty. See when I take that away and you see the colour of my board is white. When I bring this in, it changes the hue to green because colour's important. It's just important. That's why your blush papers are important. 3mm height. Slip and slide. Where I roughly push, pull. Next one, I'm staying with 3mm because I'm about to go 5mm. So 3 and 3, get that height, cool those tones. Just placing in, push, pull, okay? There's something about DLs, isn't there? There's something about that grace and that height. Now, let's have a look at what I've got in my little arsenal of things. Florals, all my bits and my bats. Now, notice I've got this, my pivot heads. So the reason I'm doing this demo today and the reason I'm doing this one now is because I've changed things a little bit on the demo itself, and I want you to see that as an alternative to how we've been demoing with this collection. We'll still be producing obviously similar card lines, but I want you to see it differently. On this box planter, instead of making a box with it, instead of using the two together and creating a box, or using its arms, because I need it to be a specific length and also a specific height. I don't want full reach on this. I don't want it to be a full box. And sometimes that's going to be necessary in composition, and we don't have to use it in any specific way. We use it the way we want to play with it. So 5mm foam tape on the back of it. That means I control the depth. It's now only 5mm instead of it being an inch away from the bottom of the card. So I get to create. Now I've got my long line. So if I put that there and I put this here, I know instantly I've got to do one of two things. I either need to cut the stem because it's going to poke onto my foam tape and not go down far enough, or I need to stick that first and then put this down, which means I then need to make a choice. Where is it going to be? Is it going to be left, right, middle? This is what we were talking about before. All of it's a process. It's just a learnt process. If I'm going to have it over on the left, I have to have it overhanging, because my stem line is the visual. That's your visual long line. Right, same thing, but overhanging. Because if I pull it this way, it looks like I've missed the center of the card. I need to have it overhanging. And I like it in the middle when we're doing the DLs, because I think it's your point of focus. Now I'm going to say really specifically, if I place that down, and I'm going to hold on, just work this now. So that'll be about right for me. Thumb on. Let me just get a little bit more wet glue. And I just want to show you something. You're going to think I'm daft, but still. When do you not think I'm daft? Let's do this. Right. Get it to where you want it. Take your thumb. Push. Pull, just so you've got it exactly in place and it's not moving, and place. I'm going to take the bottom, I'm going to leave the leaves free, so I'm controlling it here. That's my control point. This is my gluing point. Let that drop and put it down. Okay, then take everything else away. What a beautiful card. Sometimes composition isn't about more. I'm going to be putting more on it because it's a demo, but I think that's extraordinary, just as it is. You could do a little watercolor design at the bottom of just a light green wash at the bottom to give an optical vision of grass. You could do, you know, so many things. But Carnation's artwork, this is a leaf. It's a bit of foliage that's meant to add in to the collection. It, you know, it gives us bulk to our florals. But the artwork's so strong. I've got a set of 3 pictures in my living room downstairs that sit next to each other. And one of them is basically that. It looks very much like that. It's just one leaf on a canvas. Because the power's in the artwork, isn't it? It's how we see things. So I just wanted to show you that, because I think visually it's really strong and really important that those elements, they're just beautiful, right? So I'm going to take this away and this, look at that. How pretty. Place this on as well as I can centrally, just to there. Now, I've got a gap here of about ½ an inch, just where that sits taller. Now I can choose to fill that, I can choose to hide it, I can choose to use it. It depends what you want to do, but I will say on a composition level, if I was doing this and I was just going to sort of use those two and leave that exposed, I'd be more inclined to move the leaves down a little bit further. I'm going to put some mud on there so you won't see it, but just from a comp level, if that comes down a little bit further, it will look less fragile. On its own, it's beautiful, but once we start putting it in the box, it looks like a strong breeze could knock it over. So we're making sense all the time. I'm putting mud there, so I actually need the height on it. But if you're not, just make sure that your box line maybe just comes just a couple of millimeters under this leaf. and then it'll make sense that it's not going to waff over, if that makes sense. It gives it a support, a visual support. So then I've got my compost. Oh, do you know, I'm going to long line this on the front of this box, so placing at the front. My foam tape is low enough, so we think these things through from the very start. Take this. Tweezers will help if you struggle with this, but this has got a cut line, so I can bend and I can pinch, and then I can let it rest back down again. So again, I get control of that. But can you see now how I'm hiding that stem line so that I'm losing the fragility point? And that's just going to make it look stronger. Small visuals. Lift. Use your cut lines. And give yourself the two layers, the two heights that come through. And now that it looks less fragile now. It just reduces. It's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. Of course I'm not. But sometimes those visuals help. Now I can add in more greenery here, and I can start to base out. What I will say is, if I'm probably not, because I love it as it is, but if I was to do that, instead of just, to me, I somehow get a random, I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it, but I do know composition wise that's not right. If I was going to do it, I would need two visuals. They don't have to be the same thing, but I would have to allow the V line. All right. Remember, we're working on a visual constantly. We're looking for the aesthetic. So we work to that V line. Now, I wouldn't use those two pieces in that V line. Of course, I wouldn't. I would be more likely to use two of these. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't have one that's thick and bulky and one that's very thin. But if I use my V line, I've got my visual point coming to the center point down here. And so the eye takes everything in because we're guiding it. I'm actually going to leave it without because I think it looks better. And I think from a, just a very sort of basic visual, it just looks better. But I am going to pop some colour onto this card. Now, the yellows and the greens are just stunning together. We've got a 5mm on this, and I'm using foam tape. I'm not gluing it. I'm going to raise the florals on this away from the stem. So I want my florals to be as high as the box below it, because visually that's going to create a different look. So I'm not even shaping particularly. I'll give them a little roll around just to give it a bit of something, but not too much. And I'm going to make a choice to have this flower facing that way. Place the colour in. You see how we lift? And you see the visual, you see the shade beneath it. That now we're cooking. We're starting to show that composition on a different level, on different heights in different ways. And we've done nothing. We've got 3 die cuts on here. Nothing. We've done nothing. But we're composing, and it's starting to look in place. It's starting to look where it should be. Hey up. One more. And this one I will face that way. Okay, so it's a small insignificant moment, but it will have a visual. So that points this way, this points this way. We're getting the V line. It's all your visual cues. Okay, 1, 2, visual point. So now we've got this. Yep. And I'm just going to add in some textural points at the bottom, not too much. What I could do, and I might do, is just add in a couple of little bits, just break up some of that white space. And we'll play with that in a second. But for now, ball tools. What do I do without my ball tools, Miss Taz? Take these. Right, again, we did this in the last one, so I won't go through it too much. But just remember, those cut lines are there for a very specific reason. There is like a full almost tutorial on doing this specific point in the show that we had before. While I'm on that, what I will say to you guys is, if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, it's called Carnation Crafts TV. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, please do, and hit the notification bell. We don't go live often, but what that means is it'll just give you a nudge and say Carnation are on. You don't have to then go and watch it, but it's giving you a nudge to say There's demos happening if you want to go and watch them, and it just gives you what you need in terms of telling you what's on. And Miss Taz puts little extra bits on the community page on it as well, so there's stuff to go and look at and ferret with. Pull this, hold, pull. It's the same as the animals. Everything works the same way. We pull, just put it forward. Okay, nice little working. Then you're going to take some pin flare, lots of pin flare. My flowers are 5mm above my baseline. This is 5mm above my baseline. I need this to have more height because I need it to protrude further than the flowers. Why do I need it to protrude further than the flowers? Well, because it's a rounded object and it's at the front, so perspective-wise, to make sense of it, if it was just 2D flat, but my flowers have got some oomph, it's going to trigger something wrong in my head. So if I can pull it forward, taller than my flowers, you know, with enough oomph, it will just visually allow everything to sit in the right position. I hope that makes sense. So just putting in plenty of this. Build. Give it 24 hours, let it dry. See the weight? There's a lot of pin flare on there. And you know I don't like using too much glue, but when it comes to pin flare, we're not using it necessarily just as an adhesion, but we're using it to sculpt. Let it drop on its grounding point. Don't force it, just let it drop. Let it relax, and then it's easier with this because you've got more control. The most gentle little push. We don't want to squish the glue. We don't want to lose the height. We just want to visually lift it. Now, the reason it becomes more important just than the perspective point is also because, you know, I love my shadows, but it's not just about loving shadows. It's sometimes about the shadow is going to make sense of a lot of things. So here, because we've got the structured shadow going around the bottle, it gives the illusion that the bottle is not actually just flat against a wall. It gives it the illusion that it's away from the wall, that it is round. And so it allows just for it to be that much more sensible, if that makes sense. And I'm going to come in with this, and this is where we start making choices. I do want to have this. Now, my instinct is to lean it always because I love that point. I think it's got a nice flow to it. But what you can do here instead is create your L. Now, I'm going to lean mine because it's what I love to do, but you can create your L line with it. The reason you don't need it when you've got something in the center is obviously your visual point is there. This, when we do it this way and we lean it and we ground it there, it's got the sense of flow. So that's how I'm playing with it. I like the flow line of it. It kind of just accentuates a curved line, doesn't it, going round? So just using it in that way just eases things visually. Hey up, she says. We're just going to place. Okay. And now we've got this gorgeous oomph. Everything, this looks more rounded because it's further away and it's got the shadow behind it. If you want to play with something in this way and you're playing with a lot of white space at the top, you can break it up. You absolutely can break it up. You make choices. We can place some little seed packets just in the corner, just as a visual detail. And I would put them in that corner because this flower, which is the lowest of the two, is at this side. Because otherwise, if I go at this side, I'm top heavy or bottom heavy, or I'm left heavy or right heavy or something. So the visual's not right. So if I change it and I put it at this side away from the bottom flower, it makes more sense on the visual. Okay, so it's just playing in that way. I'm going to take them away because I don't want them. I like it clean. I just like the clean lines of it, and I think it's such a powerful piece. But what I do want to say is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 die cuts. You don't need a lot with Carnation. We don't need to overfill it. You can make a lot with a little, and that's why their collections are so valuable. And you know, you can do so much with them. They're just such good value for what we get. That artwork is free. That's incredible to me. Pretty as a picture, right? Simple, easy, dimensional. and just full of prettiness. See how the flowers pop? And we just work with what we've got. It's just a really lovely way of using it. Now, we are going to go and we're going to do communal comp. Might start shows on when the last shows, we might start calling it communal comp, because I like the idea of you guys kind of having your say. It's one thing me sitting here blathering to you, but for you to be able to say, you know, I would prefer it if you put this here. Fine, let's play. Let's play. Let's get all of us going with the whole thing. But I will say we're coming towards, obviously, the last part of the hour for Chasing the Sun, and this is the last day we'll be doing this live here. 230801 on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Show price $89.99. Please use the code CCCS10, all in capitals, to get yourself 10% discount. Take your price down to £80.99. Get your free UK P&P. Chuck in your perfect papers, which are your absolute perfect blend with this collection. They're so pretty and they work so well, and there's such a beautiful textural background for them, so they'll make your cards stronger. Your perfect papers are on the code number, sorry Taz, code number 230808. You can see them there, 48 sheets, 300 GSM. You all know your perfect papers because you are Carnation crafters. But they're absolutely beautiful. $14.99, $2.95 UK P&P. If you order them on your own, it's the perfect time to get those and the planters together, because that will take you over the £50 threshold. So you will get free P&P, but there's not many left, so I don't know how many of you will be able to get hold of the pop-up planters before they run out. But that's 230807, $39.99 and $2.95 UK P&P, which is why you need to chuck your perfect papers in. Get your P&P for free. Savvy Crafter says the stone pillars from that collection with the round window. I know which one you mean, and I can't place it. It's the one where there was the mice and there was the beer and there was it looked like a little hobbit house, and it's so cute. It wasn't that long ago we did it. Why does my brain not work? Was it Beauty Beyond? Yeah, Beauty Beyond with the stone pillars. You're absolutely right, Sally Crafter. Karen's dies have arrived. Let's get this out. So I do have a comp. As you can see, I've got all my bits and pieces. So I had comped this out. But I sat and I thought, let's do it together. Let's do it different. Because let's make some choices together and put a card together. So I'll whip my card base together. I can't give you the choice of whether or not you get part of Miss Phyllis, because she has just done all of them. Natalie Dodd's Beauty Beyond, I have that one. It's gorgeous, Beauty Beyond. There's no bad collections. That's the problem. Here we go. Let's do this. We have got, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this. I won't go too much into it. Not this Friday. We've got Going Wild this Friday, and then I'm at Hobby Maker on Monday with the the USB, the Radiance and Elegance one. And then that Friday next week. I'm not allowed to say I don't think.
I'm hovering over your mute button.
I think it's probably the best crafted select I've ever done. I think you're all going to be real giddy with it. It is cute.
You can say the title, because the title's on the calendar.
Is it? What's it called?
Everyone's best friend. So you can kind of take what you want from that.
It is so cute. I am so smitten with it. Paula's has just arrived. Kate Jude, can anyone tell me which collection the anemones come from? Can anyone tell us?
I'll have a look.
I'll know it when you say it. But being that I don't know what one flower looks like from another, I'm not the best person to ask with florals. Push, pull. Look at that. Do you not think that would make the most striking wallpaper? Isn't it beautiful? I love the terracotta colour of it for the garden sort of feel to it. It's just really, really gorgeous. But let's call it. Okay, so I am going to go this far on composition for me, okay? And then we'll play. So I'm putting my mats and layers in just to frame up. Okay, right, so we're doing the format slightly different. I won't keep you, ages, but let's play together. So I've got certain elements, but I've got all of my elements sitting here. I've got a card base made up here, and that is the main card base from the Chasing the Sun collection. It's got the archway, it's got the little pieces around it, which I think are so lovely, aren't they? That it almost looks debossed. It's really beautiful. It's got the little box shape at the bottom, and it's got this here. Now we've got options here. I love the idea of making this exactly as it is, but actually using it as a composition component uponst an 8x8 as a full card base. Because what happens is we get the depth. All right, so we create that aperture, and I love it. I really love it. And when I was playing with all my bits and bats, I was like, I'm going to use that in a piece of composition because I really like it on an 8x8 as a full card, not just the doily, not just the archway, but the whole thing made up. But I have a problem. And the problem is this box at the bottom is creating height, and I don't match it at the top. So I'm going to need to put some foam tape in first. And that's going to be my first point of call, because I'm not using it as a card base. I'm just using the card base as an element. So I'm doubling up on card bases, but I'm using them very, very specifically as a piece of design. So that bit is where we're going to start, and then you guys are going to take over. So I'm just going to place in a little bit of foam tape, and I'm going to double this up because I think this is a 3mm. So I'll do that way. Pull this. See Dalrymple, you wonderful human. Savvy Crafter, I'm Holly from Facebook, by the way. Hello. Oh, next Friday will be another purchase. Next, I'm going to, listen, you guys are all good enough to arrive here and be here with us, and we love you for that. So I'm going to give you a heads up. Next Friday, everyone's best friend, the Crafters Select, is going to sell out. It is going to sell out fast. Probably before I ever get to air with it. Fastest finger first. I don't know of anybody that's not going to want it. It's beyond sweet. Right, so I've got this, and I'm going to take it. I need that roll of tape. Kate Jude, me and my tape. I love my foam tape. It's one of my passions. Right, I've got this. I've got holes. I got to go steady. So the first thing I'm going to do is place those two 6mm there, and it's going to sit. But I'm going to need to commit to this onto here very cautiously, because that's going to stick straight onto it. So we just have to make that choice. So what I'm going to do at the bottom here is just take some wet glue, just for me corners, okay? And I'm going to commit. Oh, faster than I wanted to there. About central, Miss Taz? So I've got that point exactly where I want it. Now that foam tape will hold, okay? Now the joy is, because I use the full card base, I've still got control of that hinged element. I'm just going to get this here. Pam Lillington, have to stay up all night. Honestly, Pam, I can't tell you how excited I am. And I get to do a show with it. It's the best. It's got me real excited. I'm going to get in so much trouble when I get off the show. I'm just not answering the phone. If Carnation ring, I'm very busy later on. You can't speak to me. Right, I have got florals, and I've got height and other elements. What I want you to do at home, this is where we start to play. For those of you there, and we'll have to type fairly quick, give me a piece from this collection that you want me to use. You tell me, what element do you want me to use? Not the stuff that I've already done. Shout some pieces out to me. We'll get them out of my little box of tricks, and we'll start composing. okay? And we'll work out, and I'll talk to you about the composition value of the pieces that you're giving me and how we do it. Let's comp together. So you name a piece, we'll bring it out. I have got all of the pieces, and I'm going to show you my little box of tricks so you can see what we're working with on a visual, and you tell me. So we have all of our elements sitting. Iris, hanging basket, label. Here's all my things. Okay, there's so much here. We will make an iris because I think it's important that you see the visual, so that is a good shout. We will do one of those. So for the iris, there are certain little pieces that we need. So I've got this piece. I've got my winged element here. There should be a little feather piece. I'll just grab a handful of things and work out which ones I need. There's my little feather. And then there's the tiny little pieces. I think I can just see one at the bottom here. There's my pokey. Let's just see. Try and keep my noggin out of the shot as much as I can. There. Okay, so that's the pieces you need for your iris. We will make one of those. So have I got? Iris seems to be the popular one to start with. Yellow daisies. People are saying, lots of people saying the iris. So people have said the iris, people have said the hanging basket as well. So I'll take that, and we've got a few elements that we're working with here. Okay, and we'll keep playing, and we can keep adding to it and from it. So I'm just going to place this back so I don't knock everything over. Last time I had these boxes, we were just leaving the studio and I'd forgot to clip it, and all of my pieces fell all over the studio floor, which is not ideal, I've got to tell you. So just clip it all in. That box, for the people that are asking, is an Amazon purchase, nothing to do with Carnation, but it's really blooming handy. I've got about 6 of them now. Right, so you wanted the iris, you wanted the hanging basket. Now the hanging basket is brilliant for this because I've got the little shelf. So let's look at that first. And let's look at shaping it, all right? This, ooh, green foliage, Kate, thank you. We'll bring us some of those in. We'll bring some yellow daisies in. Let's play. So I've got the 4 elements here, and I've got a 5th element, which is the top piece on this particular die cut. So I'm going to work with my bottom part first here, bring that round, then I'm going to smooth straight over to the other side, leaving those 2 flat until the next bit. So I always do those 2 first if we're working on something on a semicircle, because I want to break the fibres. Then I'm going to work around the bottom edge. That's going to start the dome in position. Now I can go into these 2, and I'm just going to drag up and down, just playing with that paper, and then working that top element so that I get that full dome in, okay? And so now it's so rounded, and so I can fill it with things, I can do the things, it's just sort of sitting there. So this, I've got dimension, I've got this. If I want to secure that dimension, I can put foam tape underneath it. But I've got my little piece sitting here. Now, if I was to put in, let's say, yellow florals into this, it's very big and I'm only going to get 1 floral in it. And I don't dislike it particularly, but it doesn't make sense, because that flower wouldn't be that big with that. It just visually to me, that it just doesn't work for me in the way that I would like it to work. So I would fill it with smaller florals. So I would pop my little pieces in, and that would make more sense, especially because they sit back. I might even be inclined to put a little bit of mud in there just to give it that cue as well. So let's take this, let's get a little bit of soil, make sure I've got it roughly the right size. That would do it because it could stick up nicely. And then I've got these here as well, so I'm going to use those. The other thing as well, I will say to you guys, I don't know how much trouble I'm going to keep getting into with Carnation. Do you think I'm ever not in trouble with Carnation? I've lost it. Sorry, Carnation, there's another product coming on Friday and it's really exciting. Sorry, Carnation. Am I allowed to say what it is? No. But it's really exciting, and it's something you all want, all will use. We will all use it. I will use it. It's so important, and it's great. Shush. They can't stop me. They can't stop me. I'm just not answering the phone later.
You really are going wild.
I'm going wild. Wait, it's going wild. I love going wild. It's going wild on Friday. Let's take some of these florals and let's look at how they shape, because these are really beautiful for shaping. Now, we've got different elements to them. You've got the little ones because we can do decoupage with them. But actually, I really love those on their own as well. It's really cute. So let's just go in with these. Take my ball tool and let's shape. Aren't they just so cute? They're so satisfying. Let's get these done. And I'll get a few so I can fill this little basket for you. Start thinking about something more that you want me to put onto the card.
Can I ask for something?
You can ask for something. What would you like, Miss Taz?
I would like some... I'd like one of the mice.
You want a mouse?
The confusion.
The dazed and confused one. Why? Because it's like me. So, when I'm doing this, choices. Where do I want it? Where do I want this to be? Because it makes sense for it to be on the shelf, right? Now, if I'm going to put it on the shelf, I've already shaped it out. So it's going to sit in a dome over this point. And if that's the case, where are my flowers going to be stuck? How do I stick my flowers down? Because I can't, there's nothing to stick them to. So again, composition choices. Now, I know I want it to be there. I've got to work out the florals beneath. So what I'm going to do first of all is stick this down. Basically, sometimes it's worth forcing yourself into a corner. And one of the things I love to do when I'm working with composition and I'm trying to teach myself elements of composition, I'm a very boring person, as you all know. I very rarely leave the house. So one of the things that I like to do is force myself into corners when I'm doing composition, because it's, to me, it's cardstock. Yes, of course, you know that there is some financial thing in it, but to me it's worth the cost of possibly losing a card because I've made a mistake if my learning curve is going to be big enough. Does that make sense? Because to me, I'd rather learn and fail, but know that I've been through a process. Now, what I'm going to do with this, because you all put me into a corner with this is sitting there, and it sits, and this can move, okay? And that means we get that beautiful shaping out, and I really love it. Now, I'm probably going to stick that down in the end, but what this does allow for, if I lift this, I just want to show you, and I was to stick something in there, like the mouse, see how it comes out with that beautiful curvature? Because then I could stick that down and it traps everything that I need it to trap inside it. And I really love that. And I just wanted to show you it. Now, the reason I've got so many pinks, so many little flowers here is I need height. They've got to make sense in this basket because the basket is further forward than the florals. So I'm just going to start poking these in. Now, what I'm about to do with these, you would actually probably need to wait until the pin flare dried. So you do one layer and then start adding. But I don't have time for that. So I'm just going to place in. So first of all, these are going in relatively randomly. And then I'm going to put a couple and see what it looks like on top. People saying I'm a tease, Miss Taz. Listen, I would tell you all, but I actually need a job. All right, Miss Taz. But there's loads of stuff. And Carnation's problem is that they have to send it to me because I have to work with it. My problem is I can't keep my mouth shut because I really like it. But tune in on Friday. Okay, now I've built a lot of height and dimension there, and it gives it that fullness. Layer, 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 layer. bottom layer, next layer up, but wait for your pin flare to dry. It'll just make it easier for you, but super, super cute. So somebody wanted a yellow flower in here as well. Miss Taz wanted the confused mouse, so we'll find those, and we need to build that iris. So we're going to work with those elements to it. Now, that is very, very pretty just on its own, and that yellow flower is very, very big. And so in order to make sense of it, I've got to work out how to use it. How do I pull in the yellow flower that's big? Bear in mind, you're telling me where you want things, you know, what you want. So first things first, I'm going to start positioning it and talk that through, but I want you to tell me where you think in your head you would put the yellow flower and why you would put it there. So I'll start talking it through. You're looking at this from the overhead. You've got as much visual advantage as I have. Where would you think to put the yellow flower? What would be your initial thoughts? Where would you go, Miss Taz? Miss Taz thinks she would go at the bottom here. Okay, now that's an option. Of course, it's an option. If I was doing that, I would want it to sit here. Okay, I wouldn't want it as just a random flower on its own. It wouldn't make sense to me. So I would need to put it here so it was like a border, and I couldn't just leave it like that. I would need to produce a V line. So quite simply, I would do that with foliage or something along those lines, and I'd create that V line to make sense of it. I wouldn't put it there particularly. Again, I could do the same here and create an archway going down. That would be my other option with the foliage that we've got. I'd need to shape it out. The alternative is that I add in more than one. And let me find them. Which layer are they on, Miss Taz? Top layer here. I would create my borderline. Didn't I say yesterday, Miss Taz, that Madonna's got a song for everything? There you go, borderline. It's kind of very important discussion that Miss Taz and I were having. Let's go here. So if I was doing these, I'd use the shorter blades. But I would piece this around to create an archway of some description, and I would use those going through. Now, what I will say to you is when I'm working with something in this way, what I've done is created a visual step here. So the visual step is my pink point in that hanging basket. And what that does is when I'm in a visual step, we've got a point that we look at here with the shade line, and then we visually step to this. To me, the yellow flowers are shouting at me. They're really shouting at me. And there's no point in me putting this here because they're stealing everything from the show. So I wouldn't use them, I'm going to say. Now, if you want me to use them, I absolutely will. If I had to, I would bring them to the bottom. Okay, and the reason that I would do that is because I can still keep that as my top visual, and I create that V line, all right? So I can still keep that as my point of vision, but again, they do shout a little bit. They're a little bit angry with me at the minute because the rest of it is that muted tone. So we'll work with the mouse. What else did we have? Green foliage. So let's have a look at some green foliage and bring that in. And where can we go with those? I love the foliage in this. My favourite of the foliage is the big, I just think that's so gorgeous. There's something so magnificent about that piece. You could even just long line these through, one at each side, like it's a sentinel waiting, and they're just so pretty because they've got that gorgeous, gorgeous height, haven't they? And there's something very peaceful about them. They're not trying to steal the show, but they're really bringing something to it. You could pretty much sentinel those out, you see. And we'd have this really gorgeous, it's almost like a tree. It's somehow we get transported to a different country and something else is happening. We're going through an archway window. There's that point there. And when you look at the board that I've got here, my glass mat, we're starting to look like a florist shop, which is what we want. We want the freedom to choose. I'm obviously not going to put these just here, but I will use some foliage. One of the things that we haven't needed to use so far in demo is all of these little separate leaves. Okay, so we can really build and tuck and make things grow and make things bloom. We can widen things out, we can shorten things down. I can add in some greenery to my little pieces here by tucking these sort of in and down, just a little pop of green in with my pinks. It's going to fall straight through because I haven't glued them, but all the same. Okay, choices, 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 we make them. So, because I'm not going to use the yellow, I do want to build the iris, and I want to show you how the iris is built, and then we're going to play with that, and then at that point we're going to start building in until we get to a full card, and then I'll let you go. It's like school. Alison, I have to have odd numbers if I use flowers, like florist and landscape, and probably as hobbies, a landscape gardener, and drummed it into me. Because we work things out, don't we? It's like the rule of thirds when we have things in odd numbers, whereas my head goes to symmetry. Because we have all got our own style and our own way of doing it. Symmetry to me makes sense. My brain can handle symmetry. And they're not rules of artistic, you know, some great rule that's put out there by composition. That's our brains telling us what we can deal with, and that's where taste comes from. That's my taste. That's, you know, your taste. It's those things, and we make those lovely, lovely choices. Let's make this iris very quickly so you can see how it all comes together, and then we will get this card finished. So where we've got this piece here, we've got the little, it looks like the snitch from Harry Potter, and we've got the feather, and we've got the little top line piece. So all we do, we can shape it if you want to, but remember you've got those little pivot points. It's telling you where to glue. It's guiding you the whole way. So pivot onto here, push, push, out. A little bit of wet glue. And just place just on. So you've got that little leaf coming over. So pretty, so blooming beautiful. Now let's have a look at how the iris looks on here. Does it shout as well? Is it going to cause me a visual headache? Now 2 of those on that corner would actually be very, very pretty. Really beautiful. I'm not going to do it. It would look really, really beautiful because, again, we're playing with sort of distances, and because they would be facing inwards, what do we get? We get that V. So it's always looking about just those angles. Because we get used to this as we're working on that white, sometimes anything that comes in can be disturbing in colour, and we have to sort of get used to it and work it out. And it's not difficult to do. It's just sort of the frustrations and you know, the part of building, isn't it? It's the part of card making that we all go through. Let's have a look. There's a whole thing. I had a whole discussion with a very well-known artist once about when we're making something, this inane thing happens, and I want to ask you guys at home if you get the same thing. When you're making something and you're going through it, there's a point, a third the way through you making something, 1/3 the way you making something, and for some reason it seems to happen to everybody, you immediately start to hate it, and you've got to get over it. It's like a mental stopping point, 1/3 into the things that you make, and you've got to get over that point for you to start liking it again. And it happens all the time, and it happens with card making too. It's a really weird thing, but it happens. Right, Miss Taz, you wanted a confused mouse. Okay. So, ball tool, I'll shape him quickly. Let's do his tummy, his bottom, in that round, follow that through, and then we're going to take his snout and just shape, and then his little ears. I love his ears. Pull so that you get his body line. Now he has to make sense because he's a character, he's a figure. So he has to make sense. It's one thing me putting an artistic iris somewhere. If I put that down, that's absolutely fine. I can get away with that as an artistic iris. It makes no sense to the card. We've got a window box up here. So, but it's fine because artistically it's given us a visual impact. We're bordering, we're cornering things out. The mouse, however, can't. If I place the mouse here, why? Why would a mouse be floating in midair? Where's he looking? Why is he confused? What am I giving him to work with? He has to make sense. So we have to level him. He has to have a grounding device. Okay, so he makes the most sense to me there. There's nowhere else for me to place him. I could get away with him down here, but I think why though? Because it makes more sense to me that he's confused over here because the flowers are there and we've got the visual. You know, it's just the little things, isn't it? But that makes more sense. So let's fill his tum. Place him on, make sure his feet are leveled. And there we go. And Kate wanted some greenery. So one of the things that we can do is we could add in some mud lines down the bottom. I'm not going to do too much with it, but if I added in some mud lines down the bottom, I could make it make more sense. Because now he's confused about something. I've now got grounding. I've got something at the bottom. He is confused and now he's looking directly at it. Why is he confused? Well, has the mud just fallen down from the flowers? You know, you start to make sense of stuff. This becomes a reason and then get a fun sentiment. You've got something that absolutely makes sense. Now, one of the other things that we can do, I've got him sitting here. Visually, I could do with having something in this section just to give me that diagonal line. So I can take my twine and I can create that bow line, which brings this down and it allows a different visual. I probably wouldn't have that sitting quite so high. I'd probably leave that relatively flat if I was going to play in that way, but I would be more inclined then to just put that at the top of the archway, just to give that little bit of height. And it sort of looks very cute. There's something quite French looking about that. I really like it. He doesn't make, you know, he's not standing out as being odd, but he needs something else. It can't stay just like that. Something else has to give. And the only way for me to rectify that is to put something at the other side. The thing to put at the other side that makes the most sense, of course, is his little pal. Now it makes sense. Visually, we just made sense. Now to make that more sensible, it does need a little bit of something in that centre point, which would be the compost, and we could put in those little half flowers and just put one in for a little visual pop. Suddenly we've got a sense of colour, we've got a sense of visual, we've got a sense of, you know, what's working. I'm not keen on this up here, I've got to tell you. I would be more inclined to take that away, keep it fresh, keep it simple. I can put grass lines in, I can tuck those in and put some little greenery in there just to allow it to have a little something, a little addition that's just a small visual pop, and it just allows your eye to roam. Put this one in this way. Symmetry, symmetry, symmetry is how I work. Curves it out. Not too busy. Hey up, that's moved. Okay, so to me now it just makes a little more sense. But if you're going to use him, you're going to have to level him out really in that sense with something a similar height that does also make sense, because just putting in a large flower on this side won't work. So that's some of your ways of composition. The other ways, of course, are creating your archway lines. I won't take, you through that whole process. But these pieces that you've got, if you can hide your workings, they make the most glorious arches with those florals coming around on those stems. You can do it with your pivot heads where you've got your stems here, and they can be worked round as such into those archways because we've got the little pips that bend. So because this pivot line bends, I can glue those two together, those two little pivots. Let me just show you what I mean. So if I pop a little tiny smidge of adhesive there, turn that, glue those together. Can you see how I've got the curvature? So then I can add the florals to it, and we could create essentially a beautiful an overhang with florals, and I can do something on the other side too. And I can add in my little florals, my little pieces, because of those pivot head florals. Play to your heart's content. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the process. Don't get bogged under in whether you're right, whether you're wrong. There isn't a right and there isn't a wrong. There's only what's right or wrong in your head, as in you're looking at it going, I am not, that is not, no. And you'll know when you hit that point, but none of it. The worst thing we can do is form habits that don't make sense. The best thing we can do, the reason Carnation can do things like give us grounding devices is because grounding devices are really important. And a lot of people go, oh, why I don't want to pay for mud? Why am I paying for a mud? Oh, because it's a grounding device, because it makes sense. So when we're composing, we have got that baseline to start with. They're important. And as soon as you sort of have that, you've started the story somewhere, haven't you? So the one thing I'll say, and then obviously I will let you go, is this. Take a card base. I'm not going to make a card, don't worry. I am going to let you go because we're over time. Take a card. If you're sitting at home with this collection and you just get it out, take something, one piece. Doesn't matter whether it's a seed packet, that tiny little seed packet, or that great big iris. It doesn't matter whether it's the leaf. It doesn't matter what it is, but take something, place it, okay? Just one thing, no more. Just place the one. Then turn it, shape it, move it, place it in different areas on the card base. Find out where you love it and then work from there. Starting points. Everything has a starting point. And that's how we compose, that's how we play, that's how we get better. If we always go in and say, that's a pot, and so that needs a flower in it, and then that means I need some greenery, we're always going to play the same way. We have to sometimes change that rule. I've got that in the corner. Now where do I go? And that's how you get the most breathtaking cards. Respect your white space and shake things out. Lecture over. Right, we have got Going Wild on Friday. I'll be back with you. Miss Tiztaz times? Any idea? 11 o'clock. I'm so bad at doing the things. I'll be with you at 11 o'clock. This is Chasing the Sun. Chasing the Sun is no more. This is our last show for it. This is the last time you will see it live on Carnation Crafts channel for a long while to come. It will go to Hobby Maker eventually, but I don't like it when they end. 230-801 on the Carnation Crafts website. Bless you, Miss Taz. www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Get your 10% discount. Put in the code CCCS10. That'll give you 10% off. So it'll take it down to £80.99. There's not, as far, I don't even know if there's any planters left, but certainly there's not many. So if you want the pop-up planter, it's going to be a race to the finish now. So do grab that and your perfect papers. I'm about to come off air, which means the vignettes are there. It's all ready. Go, go, go. Print, print, print. Get your print paper out. Get them printed. Get playing. Enjoy. And please, please, please post your makes in the group, and so I can see them. And what I'd really love is if any of you have a go with the idea of a starting point, a random starting point, and placing it onto a card base and going from that point, and you play with that theory. Doesn't matter what the card looks like. Please tag me in the group and just say my starting point was the plant pot. My starting point was the iris. And let's see it where we go. Let's learn together, and let's just enjoy the journey. It's been amazing to have your company. As always, it is a joy to be with the Carnation Army. It's family. Thank you. Thank you for your time. We'll see you Friday at 11 o'clock. Take care till then. Bye.